Welcome. I see some people still coming in. That's so wonderful. Welcome. Welcome to those of you on Zoom. Even though it might be a little bit of smoke in the air, we are so grateful to be here right now in this now present moment. And it's such an honor to be here and to look out and just to feel the waves of beautiful energy coming this way and seeing the smiles and kisses of those we love. So welcome. Uh-oh, I just broke the only match that's in this box.
I think the universe is telling you to use that.
So my name is Claire Palmerino, and I have the joy and pleasure of assisting this morning with the platform duties. And we light the Christ candle to remind us of the ever-present light that is always within us. In the beginning was the one presence of the undivided and unmanifest pure spirit of life, light, and love. In its generosity, it shared itself, its consciousness, and its love in the visible form of creation. We acknowledge this presence within us and as us, the creative energy of the divine feminine and masculine, expressing in all our giftedness and creativity. We acknowledge this presence in our companion Mother Earth and in all sentient beings. This universal presence in everything we call the Christ. We light this candle as a visible reminder of that Christ presence expressing in, as, and through us in this present now moment. It is the truth. Let us own it. And now we have our opening song with Gabriel and Angela. Everything I Need to Know. Please stand.
Everything I need to know about what lies before me.
Good morning, everybody, once again. So nice to be able to gather, keeping our fingers crossed that that will continue. So I do have a bit of a head cold, so that's why I'm wearing a mask. So you don't have to, that's up to you. Let's see. So we have been beautifully set up, so to speak, with the lighting of our candle that told us so much about how that one presence just divided itself out and spread itself out over the eons as us. And then that song also reminding us that the one mind of that one presence is in there somewhere, if we're paying attention. And so what I'm calling us to this morning in our invocation is to soulfulness, to really connect with our soul as we gather here this morning. Stephen Busby says, we are doing much more than accessing information about what the future might be, and are instead becoming living, emergent expressions of this future, portals for evolutionary unfoldment. We are not getting visions of the future, but we are becoming agents of it now. You can feel that, the difference between that passive, I'm just getting information, and instead embodying something, that the spirit is really giving itself and, standing us upright and wanting to be us and to express consciously as us. And so it's not about what we are about to know so much as it is what we are becoming and what we are to become. I don't think we really stop too much to think about that. We just have our nose to the grind, so to speak, and we're just looking one step ahead. But in the bigger picture of things, something magnificent, something miraculous is happening. And we are becoming, not just individually, but as a collective, we are becoming something that wants to unfold in humanity. And we call that the Christ. That's what's really wanting to be present on the planet. And I think we know at this time that something big is happening. Things are really shifting. We're in crisis, we're in disorder, but we know that there's an order, a reorder out there that's also happening. He also says the concept of emergence, more than any other concept we have encountered, puts Humpty Dumpty back together again in ways that are wonderfully resonant with our existential and religious yearnings. And what he's really saying is that it's resonant with our souls. Our souls are like longing for humanity to be what it should be. We're all disgusted with what we see, we know that. But there's something else that wants to be born. And it says, emergence evokes the questions of what kind of we can become. Into what could we evolve if we open ourselves up to new ways of working, living, and acting together? What shape could this new we take? Which emergent capacities could we develop that make us bigger than the sum of our parts? And I love that, because again, it's so easy for us to just think of our own little patch and to realize that we're a patch in a huge quilt. There's a much bigger picture unfolding here. And so this morning, I want us to really move into that energy of the soulfulness and of that bigger picture. And we enter into the time of prayer, and we have a collective time of knowing and sharing for one another, where we open not to what we already know about ourselves, but what we are about to know for each other. And I'll give you an example of that. We have all of these people on the prayer list, and each of them has a problem or whatever, and someone is sick. Well, we know that about them. That's the information we've been given. But what are they becoming? That's what we're going to focus on during our prayer time. That's what we're sending them, the love and light of knowing them as the emergent being that they are. And so let us look now at our prayer list for today, which again is extensive. So we pray for Sean Bartlett, for Bob Castro, Diane Castro-Weir's dad, for Joan Oliver, for Barbara McCarthy, for Christy Souza, for Dale Frank, Andy and Kieran Holman, Charlie and Will McBride, Geraldine Wood, Melody Jewell, Kathleen McIntyre and her mom, Daryl Van Natta, Amy, Denise Mazzetti and family, Angela and Greg, Bernie Astazana, for a very special intention for a family, for Carolyn Capello, for Cynthia Robertson, for Howard Ebersole, and for Rhonda. And we pause at this time to add any further people. If you want to say anybody's name out loud, please do so this time. And we pray for Kirk, that he may be the recipient of a kidney. So we open up to the possibilities of what we can become and experience. And we pray together our prayer, there is only one presence and one power, active as the universe and as our lives, the all-loving goodness of God, and all is well.
So the daily word for today is journey. My life's journey begins and ends in the heart of God. I feel excitement at the beginning of a journey, thinking about the adventures, the beautiful sights, and the fascinating people I will find at the journey's end. Even as I look forward to reaching my destination, however, I remain alert, open to the adventures and insights that await discovery along the way. My faith tells me that my spiritual journey began in the heart of God, long before my human birth. In childhood, I looked outward, longing for the adventures that would become waypoints on my journey to maturity. Now I journey inward, longing for the spiritual home I never really left. I am learning that even the most ordinary day can become an opportunity to realize that the heart of God is present everywhere. My life's journey begins and ends in the heart of God. So let us enter into a time of meditation. As usual, we begin with the breath. As we focus on our breath, we come into the now moment. We center ourselves and we ground ourselves in whatever way is your practice. You might feel roots growing from the bottoms of your feet into the earth. You might imagine a shaft of light coming from the heavens down into the center of the earth, grounding and anchoring you there. But breathe softly in and out to signal to the body that this is a time to relax, to let go, to release. And I invite you to set aside the small self for the moment, the personality self, the one with a history and a story. And you can just invite that self to step aside and sit in quiet for the moment, promising that you will let it return at some point. And we invite the deep I, the deep presence, the heart and mind of God to come forward. And this is the divine self who is always with you. And the divine self says, I know who I am. I am here. I am here. I am here. Who I am an aspect of the Creator. I am part of all that is. I will never leave you. I am always here. The divine self says, I know what I am. I am love. I am the divine manifest in form, expressing through you. And the divine self says, I know how I serve. I serve by being fully me. I serve by allowing my unique vibration to enter into the world, bringing love and peace, harmony and joy. So let us take this vibration into a time of stillness. May you feel the love bathing you and saturating every cell in your body. In the silence, we sit for a moment. As it says in the Way of Mastery, you are loved, you are loving, you are lovable. May you carry this truth in your heart and into your day. And now we will have special music that takes us into a time of remembering. May you remember who you are and what you are and how you serve.
I am
So my talk title today is What is Emerging? Could also, I guess, be titled We Are Remembering Our Future Self. So back at the turn of the century, what year was that? I bet you thought 1900. No, 2001. Barbara Max Hubbard wrote a book called Emergence, Emergence, which, it's a play on words, emergence, but emergency. And at that time, she rightly predicted that we were about to enter into a time in humanity that was going to be a time of an emergency and an emergence. And it was going to be an opportunity for humanity to emerge from darkness into greater light. And she declared that it was now time for the universal human to evolve. Time for us as a species to grow up is how she described it. I think she was right on the money, and I think there's a lot of growing up that needs to happen. Yeah, we can just look around and see. The subtitle of her book gave a great clue as to how that evolution would come about and take place. And the book's subtitle was The Shift from Ego to Essence. And Claire gave us a beautiful example in the meditation of that shift, how simple it is to simply, just ask the ego to kind of take a seat and to allow something bigger and greater to show up for us. And in one sentence, that is how we and humanity will develop the new human, the truly human, by shifting our awareness from the ego selves to our essential self, our essence, which we can feel in our heart space. And that shift is what, in my mind, drives everything that we do here at Unity and the Gold Country, to enable us to understand what is required to make the shift, but also to help one another to make that shift, to understand it, and to embody it. So what then is emergence? We hear the stories of those eureka moments of discovery and breakthrough, but stuck in the complexity of something that seems beyond reach or even unsolvable, suddenly a light bulb goes off, or the apple falls and jolts us on the head, and we have a new insight. A way opens for us to see the way forward. The pieces fall into place, so to speak. Voila. Einstein had a bed under his desk, and he would work on these incredible mathematical equations, and he'd get stuck, and then he would go and lie down in a mattress under his desk, knowing that if he would let go and kind of just fall asleep a little bit, that his mind would open up to the greater mind, and that he would probably be given the next part of the equation or the solution. Our imagination might take us to the more extreme examples of inventions and scientific breakthroughs and scientists like Einstein, but these moments happen more than we think. Far more often, novel discoveries and the process of evolutionary unfolding happens in all of us because it's a collective experience. We're all in that sea of spirit prompting us and moving us and guiding us. I just whispered to Claire that I'm using the phrase the deep I in my talk, and she used it in the meditation. That happens all the time, synchronicities. So even when one is alone, we are operating in the noosphere that Teilhard de Chardin talks about, which he describes as like a belt of consciousness around the planet, that the planet has its own consciousness, and each one of us is contributing to that, and that we can tune into it. Sometimes you can sense what's happening on the planet or is about to happen. Maybe you've had moments, I know I've had, where I've had foreknowledge of something big and that day or the next day something major happened. So there's this collective field of wisdom and energy that we're living in, and that is available to us and speaking to us if we're listening and open. And it's really the mystical is what it is. So the first question is, are we open to disembodied help from the unseen helpers present? You know, I mean, I grew up certainly with the idea of a guardian angel, and that was very real to me as a child. I don't know, maybe you had a sense of presences, of spirits, whatever. So there is help from the other side available, but we have to believe it, and we have to ask, and we have to think about that in whatever situation we're in. So rather than the survival of the fittest, we are learning more and more about how evolution happens through this emergence for all of us. And in scientific use, emergence refers to the process of how something new arises from the interaction of the elements that are already present. I looked at Julie, and for some reason I thought of baking a cake. You know, all the elements are there, but something else comes about when you combine them. Life evolves together and out of itself in a forward motion of unfolding discovery. In her splendid essay, Can Emergence Be Our Saving Grace?, a lady by the name of Anna Katharina Schaffner describes emergence this way. She says, emergence occurs when a higher level entity displays properties its parts do not have on their own, a process of attracting forces. It gives rise to a new whole that is much greater than the sum of its parts, a clustering and merging into new formations with unpredictable qualities. We experience all that all the time. If you get invited to a party or a potluck or an ordination celebration, you know, you have the person who's being ordained and his family, and then you have the community, and then you have all the other people from all over the country. And suddenly there's this energy that is way more than any one of the parts. We experience that all the time. And when we are drawn together with others into spaces of emergence with creativity, we can discover something more, and often something unexpected. We can actually co-create together to become part of something surprisingly life-giving for ourselves and transformative. Perhaps even taking part in the unfolding of evolution, the emergent unfolding of new ways of being in the world. You know, you go to a workshop and something happens there in the energy, in the field, and you come away changed. That is emergence. And that's what we're doing here every Sunday and every group meeting that we have. We're not just what we already know. We are the possibility of knowing more about ourselves. Emergence is the result of synergy, different forces coming together. Synergy is the result of relationship, those different parts, you know, interacting. And relationship is the result of attractive forces. Do you really think that you found this place on your own? And that all of these other people that you love, that we all did this on our own? No, there was a field, there was an attractive field calling us here. And this morning, Gabriel's dad and mom, welcome from New Hampshire, said to me that they love coming here, that there's an energy here that's really warm or loving, and they feel it. And it's attractive. And in our Sunday services and groups here at Unity in the Gold Country, we come together with others who feel drawn, consciously or unconsciously at times, to something more, I mean, isn't that what we're looking for this morning? We have some people who are here for just their third or fourth time. Anybody here this morning for their first time? We need to start doing that again, recognizing our newcomers. But we're all looking for something more. It may be a more genuine expression of community, the attraction to others on a similar deepening journey, like-minded people, other mystical awareness and expression, or even something that we can't really put our finger on, but we just know that there's something that we're looking for, and we're finding it here, or we're looking for it here. So underneath any and all of these motivations, on some level, is a dissatisfaction with the way things are currently. If we were all satisfied with our lives, we wouldn't be here. But, as St. Paul says in the scriptures, that, all of creation is groaning, it's longing to burst out of itself and to express this bigger thing that wants to show up through us. A belief that more of the same will not work and that something different, something new is required. We have, I think, that belief. Something new is calling us to give birth. We are responding to the attractive force, calling us into new possibilities of energy. More than I, more than me, a we. And that's what the new humanity is going to embody, is this consciousness of we. We won't act out of our own self-interest. We will act out of the self, big self-interest. And in our prayer practice and meditations, as we experienced this morning, we move into a collective time of sharing for one another, where I always say we open not to what we already know about ourselves, but what we are about to know. I mean, isn't that prayer? It opens us up to possibilities. That's faith too. This is an invocation to emergence when we say we're going to pray now for ourselves or others. There's value to sharing what we already know for sure. The things we've learned from experience or study can and do help us and others. But sometimes we are even able to share those lessons with graceful support for others. And we do that here. Claire mentioned The Way of Mastery. We've shared that book now 10 times. Thanks to that guy over there. And this is a beneficial way of being in community with others, but we have access to much more than just information. We can practice a way of being together that resources the life-giving possibility that comes from tapping into the flow of this bigger creative being and the intuitive wisdom that's available. And this comes in the moment from deep within, not just our own individual depths, but our spiritual womb, from the unified field of the divine womb. So if we think of the whole universe as a womb, that's where creation is happening from. It's not just happening on the planet, it's coming from a much bigger place. And when we are aware of that and we do that together, we are in a sense dilating the collective birth canal for a new life to emerge. So it's a communal experience. We're going to be going to the Eagles in October, hopefully. It's one of my bucket list things, and I missed it a couple of years ago, and I said, it's never going to happen. Oh my God. Have you ever been to a concert like the Eagles? Oh, magnificent, right? There's that communal experience. Or, the revolutions, the Velvet Revolution in Europe or wherever. That's the type of energy that's available when people come together. And it's wow. It's a wow experience. To call it new is something of a misnomer, however. It may be new to us, But it comes from the eternal, and in a way, it always was, is, and will be. And yet, it's not predetermined. That's the amazing thing about the divine. It's sort of like it's all there, it's being offered to us, but it's never imposed. We are the ones who must turn the key from the inside and say yes to it. And then it expresses in and as and through us. Its arrival requires participation. We know that. We have to show up in community, around the world, holding hands. But it also involves invocation. We must call it in and say, in this moment, yes, in this time, in this space, it's waiting for our welcome. It's not going to show up otherwise. As me and you, and as the collective of humanity, the coming of Christ, that's what that is. It's another word for union or unity consciousness. When we finally will get over this idea that we're separate, when we truly will understand that we are all one being, there's only one presence here, one being. And yes, it's showing up in ugly ways, but we can't reject. Scott is laughing. We can't reject the ways in which it's showing up because it's still us. And the only way it's going to change is when we love it into the consciousness that will change it. We do this for one another in our gatherings, both as a way to strengthen, comfort, and encourage one another, and as a way to practice learning and growing in our sensitivity to the awareness of the emergence that's happening in and through us all the time. Think back over your life. Did you plan every step, every day, every week, month, year to get you to where you are now as who you are? So much of it just came your way or popped up or shifted dramatically. So that way of perceiving and knowing can be profoundly creative and generative in all areas and aspects of our lives as we bring it into different settings and the circumstances that we all get into during the week. That's the thing. Each one of us is given the opportunity in our own circumstances to embody that energy. So it is how we might begin to answer some of the how questions, how we discover the flow of life, and what is ours to help bring forth. What is mine to do, as we say in Unity? We might even bring this to our study groups that we're in, if we're in one, or to whatever collective gatherings you find yourself in, or even with just one other person. Maybe you're having a conversation with a friend. To begin to open up, say, what do you think is wanting to change on the planet? What does it feel like or look like in your life? And in this way, we tap into emergence and become makers of a new world. This is what co-creation is all about. It's all about openness and expectancy. And I remember in 4T, those of us who did that program, the big thing was that if you want to bring about something bigger and more prosperous and more abundance, you must have expectancy. Expectancy is like putting feet on your faith. So like you wake up like Christmas morning expecting to receive. We have to have that sense of expectancy. And again, Anna Schaffner says, I was and remain attracted to emergence, precisely because it is so radically other. What calls me is unknowable, dormant, and unrealized. Its capacity to alter what cannot be changed by will or reason alone. So it's like this other thing that you can't really control, and yet it changes you. It's something that speaks to and evokes a response from our hearts and from our souls. And we know we're being told over and over again that the big shift that's happening is the shift from the head to the heart. So the practice of emergence we seek to learn in our gatherings and groups is really in the realm of the mystical. We're dipping into the mystical. And by mystical, we mean unmediated access and contact with the divine. You know, we've been through a couple of thousand years of the mediator. You must have this mediator before you can have any experience. We know that that's not true. You know, that was Charles Fillmore's thing. He said, if there is a God, if there is the divine, I know one thing, it must be accessible. And I must be able to go straight to headquarters myself, not needing some intermediary. And so we are reaching out and we are reaching in to touch the face of God. God unremoved from our present lives. This is not just bringing the personal God closer, it includes that as well, but bringing to bear the inner divine reality within and among us, which is yet unknown to us. See, this is the great mystery, that there's this unknown presence that I haven't really explored or discovered fully yet, and it's within me. Yes, I have explored it, and there's bits and pieces that I have some knowledge about, but there's much more still waiting. And it's calling all of us, not just a few. It's available to, that's the egalitarian nature and the democratic nature of God. It's available to everybody who's open. And so then that's the crucial step in our evolution, is to claim it for ourselves, to be real honest about that and say, yes, this is for me. Are we ready and willing and able? We have to ask ourselves. And if not, why not? Like, who's going to do it for you? Don't you have to do this for yourself? Because you are the divine. You can do this. And so that spiritual step up is one many of us have already made, and yet we know that it can still be difficult to come into ownership of that creativity and power. So how do we do it? What should we do? What does it even look like or feel like? How do I find the way forward? Well, we need to discern these questions with our minds, but we won't find the answers from the mental structure of the mind alone. We must discover the deep I, as Eckhart Tolle says, and Claire Palmerino. The life and energy of these questions must come from the depths of our own selves, arising from the divine identity at the core of our being, our spiritual womb, the vital center. And it is from there we become makers of our reality then, not just reactors. Boy, I have 3 more pages. In mystical participation with the divine within, we become co-creators with God. That's what we've been told through Unity. We are co-creators with God. To be participants in the divine nature is to create, to bring forth life, because that's what God is all about. Life, life to the full, energy, love. It's all about this flow from our vital source out into the world, transforming the world, ourselves, and other people. What arises, what Jesus called in the Gospels the water of life, the river of life. It's a whole different feeling about how we can live our lives. It just bubbles up. There's no struggle. It's available to us. And of course, it expresses uniquely through us. Like, why would we all be made different only to somehow blend back into some homogeneous thing? That's not what's been asked of us. We each have unique gifts, and we look different, and we have different colors, and you name it. So self-expression of who and what we are is all part of that too. we might ask together, what are we creating? What are we creating in the world right now? What are we creating here at Unity? What is emerging? This is a different question and a different orientation to some of the questions that we often ask, like, what are we learning? It's not an either or, of course. We should always strive to continue learning, but it's really more about what are we becoming? To kind of just shift over to that. It's more than information. We are shifting from the age of information to the age of collaboration, because that's what's needed now from humanity, is collaboration. We know that. How are we going to get through the pandemic? How are we going to get through the challenges that are there after the pandemic comes and goes? Climate change, you name it. Collaboration. Emergence evokes the questions of what kind of we can become. Into what could we evolve if we open ourselves up to new ways of working, living, and acting together? What shape could this new we take? Which emergent capacities could we develop that make us bigger than the sum of our parts? And that's really about vision for ourselves here at Unity. What impact could we have on the community if we are coming together with this sense of the greater self that wants to do something in the world? So much of what I'm sharing this morning is from the Christian Integral Network. We studied Paul Smith's book a few years ago. Is Your God Big Enough, Close Enough, You Enough? He founded that organization, and they're going to be doing a free online event on the 31st. So next Thursday in your e-bulletin, there will be a link to that event if you want to watch that. But also next Sunday in our service, we're going to go through a process together that will evoke what is emerging and how we might do things differently. So stay tuned. See you next week. All right, so we have our power statement for July. And again, it's with spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. So let's say that together. With spiritual understanding, I know everything is unfolding for my highest good. Amen. And so at this time, again, we have our affirmation of our abundance and prosperity, that we are the divine expressing, we are Source, and that we can allow Source to flow through us and as us. And do we have some people who could maybe usher, just pass a few of the baskets? Where are the baskets? Oh, okay. All right, do you want to just pass that one? Thanks. So if you want to prepare your offering, and then we have our love offering affirmation together. I give in love because I love to give. Amen. All right, so we have some more special music now from Gabriel and Angela.
I am alive with the Spirit of God. I
Thank you, Claire, for that liturgical dance. Okay. And so now we have our announcements for the week. And again, we know that this is a year of renewal, transformation, awakening, healing, and wonder. So you can pick any one of those words for this week and focus on that for the week. So the Inspiring Women of Unity are meeting now on Wednesdays. And so on this particular Wednesday, they're going to be meeting at Catherine Beatty's house. So you're going to come here and carpool. Catherine has a lovely home and patio and swimming pool, and I'm sure it will be very inspiring. And what time is that? About 11? 10? 9:30 here, carpool, and then go over. All right. Thank you for doing that, Catherine and Dave. And is Dave going to be part of the Inspiring Women? No, Dave has to come to the board meeting. That's right, he can't be there. And so the Lions booth at the fair, you know, the fair is happening and Treat Street is happening. So if you want to sign up and do a shift with the Lions for their caramel corn, you can sign up on the back page there on the table, and then the Dennis's Lions group, Gold Country Lions, will make a donation for everybody that does a shift to Unity in the Gold Country. So, and you get free popcorn, free caramel corn, and you get entrance to the fair for free. So, hey, what a deal. And I just want to bring people's attention that we are continuing with the group, Raising Our Racial Literacy, Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by Emmanuel Acho. It's a really good group, but we've had to close it because it's hard to bring new people in now. We've been through. But I do want us to just be aware that this group is meeting during the week. Good work. And then on Mondays, we have our Aligned to the Divine group, and that's a Zoom group. So if you want to join in, just look in the e-bullet, the Monday morning email that gives the lists of all the Zoom groups. You can join us for that. And in the e-bulletin, we're posting, you know, some of the meditations. So Claire did one there that was in the e-bulletin a couple of weeks ago. I think mine is up at the moment. So you can get a sense of what that is. It's about a 30-minute meditation. It's really great stuff. Very much like what we're talking about this morning, what's emerging, opening up to the bigger field. Okay, so as I did mention before service, I do have a head cold, so I won't be shaking hands and I won't be hugging, but I love you all, and you can give me one big hug, send me love and light and energy to get this head cold gone. Send it back to source. And Sandy is available in the little chapel for anybody who would like individual prayer right after the service. All right, so let us stand and pray our unity prayer together. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is because I am, and all is well. And let us sing ourselves out with I Choose Love.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what I'm made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us, that can't be undone. I choose love. is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one loving family, sharing one sun. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because we choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. We choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one choice unites us. Let this be the one. We choose love. We choose love. We choose love.
Go forth expectant. See what emerges.